You want to knit another pair of socks, but you are completely overwhelmed by all of the patterns available, so you just go back to your favorite vanilla sock pattern. Well, I asked other knitters about their favorite sock patterns, and that's what we're looking at today. And best of all of them are free. Hey nerdy knitter, Tanya here. I'm a certified knitting instructor and a master hand knitter, and my goal here at Nerdy Knitting is to help you become a more confident and adventurous knitter. And you can certainly gain more confidence in your knitting the more often you knit something, like, let's say, for example, socks. That first pair of socks can be quite the bit of trial and error, but the more often you knit a pair of socks, the easier the process gets, and then you can start refining and choosing the types of heels and toes and construction methods that you love, but you can't do that until you actually start knitting some socks. So I went straight to the source, other knitters, and asked them about their favorite free sock patterns, and you left some fabulous responses. So we're going to sit down with the computer right here and take a look at the patterns that other knitters recommend, and all of them are free and all of them can be found on Ravelry.com. We'll have links for all of them down below in the video description box. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first one on this list is Hermione's Everyday Socks. Curly Girl says it's her favorite go-to free pattern. Simple repeat and the socks always look nice regardless of the yarn. And Janie Friedman also left a comment that she loves these and loves to knit them too. So let's take a look at Hermione's Everyday Socks. These socks are also one of my favorites. I've knit them before and it is a great simple pattern. You can also find the pattern right on her website, and there is a link right here at the bottom of Ravelry where you can go click through and just see the pattern without having to download it here. But it's a great little pattern. You can see it has this little textured stitch pattern on the leg and the top of the foot. And it's a very simple pattern repeat. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I know it's like a knit round and then like a knit one, purl one round, then another knit round, and then another knit one, purl one round, but you're offsetting the pattern. So you get this really lovely sort of broken rib type texture. So sizes available, it lists just one size here, but if you've knit some socks before and you know your like basic stitch count that you can use for a sock pattern, you could take this stitch pattern and apply it to that. Now this one is knit cuff down, so you're starting at the cuff and knitting the leg first, and then it looks like a eye of partridge, heel flap, and gusset down here, and then a basic wedge toe. So it's got some of those classic details that you'll see in a really great stitch pattern. This is a really good basic stitch pattern. And like I said, you can take it and apply it to your favorite sock pattern. Just use the stitch pattern yourself if you want. And then Sally says, one favorite free pattern, I can't narrow it down, so for different reasons, here are two. First, Vanilla Birthday Cake by Christy Houghton. Best fitting shorty, don't know how or why, but stays put even in my gym shoes. And then the Zigzagular socks by Susie White. These were the first pair I made in 4-ply and are still holding up well to this day. I thought the pattern was so challenging they took forever to make. It is not. It's a few slip stitches creating a faux cable and is probably my best fitting sock to date. And then Janie also mentioned underneath that she loves knitting Zigzagular. So let's take a look at those patterns. So here's Vanilla Birthday Cake by Christy Houghton. So this is a shorty sock and it's knit according to our tags here, top down. So starting with the cuff down to the toe. And it looks like a heel flap and gusset construction. So you've got your little heel flap here. No leg on this sock. She starts right with the rib and then goes right into the heel flap. So a great little shorty sock. I can't tell. It looks like there might be some sort of a textured pattern along the top of the instep here, or it does look slightly different than the bottom. So I think there might be some kind of a texture going on there. And then your basic toe. Now sizes, it says between 5 and 9.5. So, okay, great. It looks like multiple sizes here. So we've got 5 different sizes. That's always nice to see multiple sizes in a free sock pattern. Okay, now the info says this one is a step up from a basic vanilla sock. It's a great pattern for someone who has knit a sock, wants to expand on their pattern skills. And it's a great pattern for using up leftover yarn and for mini skeins. And she goes, okay, the needles used in this pattern create a tight fabric. So let's see what she says about the needles. Okay, the size is a 2 millimeter or US size 0, which is about 0.5 millimeter smaller than the standard US 1. So yeah, it would produce a very tight fabric, which means they'll last. It looks like the pattern is written for DPNs, but if you use another method, you can most likely just switch it out for your own, just whatever sort of knitting in the round on small circumference knitting that you like, but the directions are specifically for DPNs. Okay, and then her other recommendation was for the Zigzagular socks by Susie White. Oh, these look really fun. So this is a faux cable on here. She said it was like a slip stitch faux cable. That is very pretty. I like that. So this one has 3 sizes, a 7, 8, and 9-inch foot circumference, and top cuff down, so toe or cuff to toe, and it says heel flap. Let's see if we can get a look at the heel here somewhere. Yep, we can see we've got the normal heel, some kind of a heel turn there, and then our gusset. And the toe looks like a fairly standard square toe. Looks like a very fun pattern. Now this one is also written on DPNs, but of course you can adapt that to whatever method you like. That does look like a very fun pattern. Sally Ann and Janie both like that one. Okay, and then Nikki says that Norman of Nimble Needles has a great one, and then Anastasia agreed with her. Well, I went and I looked. I didn't know which one, like, he's got multiple patterns, so I don't know which one they were referring to. So I'm just going to link to his Ravelry store, and you can look at all of his socks. He's got some great tutorials here on YouTube, lots of great sock patterns. I really love his little plants. Oh, these flowers are beautiful. And his little mushrooms. Oh, those daffodils. Lots of great things. He does have socks, so come check out his sock patterns and see if you find one that you like. And then Karen recommends the Romantical socks by Meaghan Schmaltz, the unapologetic knitter. And then Stargazer Lily 13 says, I love her, my favorite vanilla socks, and her Extranilla socks. Great cuff down pattern. Okay, so we've got 3 patterns here by Meaghan Schmaltz. Let's take a look at those. First, we have the Romantical socks. Oh, those are pretty. Look at the hearts. Those lace hearts running down the leg and the instep. That's very nice. So this looks like a basic classic sock construction. We've got an eye of partridge heel, it looks like here, some sort of a slip stitch pattern on the heel. And then your heel turn, basic gusset, lace just along the front of the sock. Very, very pretty. So let's see, we've got 3 different sizes here, 7 1/4 up to 9 1/8 inches. Now in the notes, she says her pattern is written for magic loop, but of course you can change that and use whichever method you like, just knowing that the pattern is written with that method in mind. And the chart, or the lace pattern, does include both written and charted instructions. So very, very pretty. Romantical socks. I like that name. And then another pattern by her, my favorite vanilla socks. So this one is knit cuff down. It has a heel flap according to the instructions here, and 3 sizes. So classic sock. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a great vanilla sock pattern. So once you find one that is easy for you to follow, it's very nice to just use that as a base pattern and add lots of great things to it. And this does look like a great base pattern. Classic elements, that heel flap and gusset. And then she's got a bit of a story down here about how she came up with her favorite vanilla socks and all of the notes. We did say 3 sizes already, right? Okay, she does note here that this uses the magic loop technique, but of course you can substitute, like I keep saying. So let's take a look. One more pattern by Meaghan Schmaltz, her Extranilla socks. So this one has the contrast colors for the heel and the toe and the cuff. This one is also written cuff down. It does have a heel flap. It mentions here in the tags that there is a video tutorial for this one. So we can see there it has that eye of partridge heel worked in a contrast color. We've got the gusset, basic wedge toe. So this one also comes in 3 sizes. And she created this one because of multiple requests for a detailed pattern that used her favorite vanilla sock pattern, but with the contrast colors. So Teresa left a comment. I did Petty Harbour for my uncle one Christmas, plus Minecraft socks are on my list, and any of this Handmade Life ones are great too. So let's take a look at some of those patterns. So Petty Harbour by Rayna Curtis. Oh, I like these. These are like, you know, sometimes you want a classic, like sort of unisex pair of socks that you could knit for men or women. And this sort of looks like something that you would serve that purpose. It has that really like sort of classic rib texture along the top. So this one's also that classic heel flap and gusset shape. We haven't seen any short rows yet in these recommended socks, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so this one is also knit cuff down. Let me see, it has 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. Doesn't list like the foot circumference, but it is a free pattern, so you can download it and find out what that would be. And the notes say the pattern is needle agnostic. It can be knit using whatever configuration of needles you prefer, and it's suitable for beginners or anyone who just wants a nice, relaxing, textured sock knit. Well, there you go. Check that one out. I like a good classic sort of unisex sock, and that looks like it would be a good one. And our commenter also recommended this Handmade Life, so I went and peeked at some of her socks, and she has lots of lovely socks. She has a whole series of Agatha Christie Miss Marple inspired ones, but those aren't free, so they don't make the list today, but they were very pretty. But these are very light and lacy and delicate. Even the color is just very pretty. So this is also heel flap and gusset. Looks like that Eye of Partridge heel. The toe looks a little different. Instead of our classic wedge toe, we've got more of a, maybe a star shape going on here. Very pretty lacy stitch pattern. So this one says it's just 1 size, and it is worked top down with that gusset and heel flap construction. So you'll have to check her out. She's got other pretty socks as well if you like really delicate lacy socks. Then our next comment here from Marimba26, Biscuit Socks by Fluffy Fibers. They're DK weight and super fun to knit. The pattern is super easy to memorize and they go fast. Makes great TV knitting. So let's take a look at Biscuit Socks. Oh, those are very cute, aren't they? I love that little texture on there. It almost looks like little polka dots. So again, another heel flap and gusset construction, and another sort of like a shaped toe and not just like the wedge toe that you can often see in patterns. Looks like an Eye of Partridge heel. Very pretty socks. I like that texture on there. Okay, this comes in 2 sizes and it is knit cuff down, a Dutch heel. So I think a Dutch heel, is that a square heel, I think? And of course, these are knit in DK weight, so they're going to knit up much more quickly than a fingering weight sock. The pattern also comes with 2 separate sets of instructions, one for double pointed needles and one for circular needles. So you've got a few choices here too for following the pattern depending on the type of construction you like. That's a nice touch to have. And then Natalie and Shanna both recommend Rose City Rollers. Now this is a pattern by Mara Catherine Bryner. I've knit these before too. I've got a few of her shorty patterns and they are really fabulous. I don't know if it's this one or another one that has like different options for the toes, and there's another one where she has a fading technique and I really liked that one as well. I'm not sure if that one is free though, but this one is a free pattern and it is knit cuff down, but you can see on the cuff here, instead of like a normal rib cuff, we've got like this sort of little rolled hem, or just rolled stockinette edge. I think that's what it looks like. And then right into the heel flap and gusset. No sort of like textured pattern on the heel flap here, just plain stockinette. This one does have some texture. I'm pretty sure this pattern gives you options for that as well. What to do with your heel flap there. And it includes 3 different size options. And the notes say it's a great pattern for beginner sock knitters, fun quick knit for more advanced sock knitters. Great way to use your bright variegated yarns to add a fun pop of color. And her patterns are very clearly written. I have a few and I really do like them. Then Anastasia mentions a few pairs of socks here. The Treasured Toes Simple Ribbed Sock, and then a top-down knitted sock pattern by Christine Long Derks, the Treasure Goddess. I did do a bit of searching to find that one, but let's take a look. So the Treasured Toes Simple Ribbed Sock. This is another what I would call a unisex sock. And it comes in 2 sizes, a nice basic rib pattern. Ribbed socks are always great because they fit, even though the pattern only comes in a few sizes, because of the rib, you get a nice lot of stretch in there as well. She's got a contrast color for the cuff and the toe, and the cuff has a different rib pattern that flows right into the sock. I like when designers do that. They change elements, but then they make sure they flow together really well. And we have a heel flap and gusset right here as well. So another classic sock. This one is knit top down as well. And she does include some notes for using mini skeins or a little bit of contrasting yarn for the cuff edge and the toes. And it's a 1x3 ribbing, so it's a very stretchy fit. It will fit lots of feet sizes. Okay, let's take a look at the other pattern that Anastasia also recommended, a top-down knitted sock pattern, but there wasn't one with that name, but I did take a peek at some of Christine's other patterns and I found this one and I really liked it. So it's also a basic top cuff down sock, 2 sizes, but this one has a slip stitch pattern on it, which you can see like these stitches that are standing out in stripes along the top. So you're knitting along and you're going to slip stitches probably every other round to get these sort of elongated stripes in your sock. And then we can see it's another classic heel flap and gusset pattern. We've got that heel turn going on here and the gusset, and we've got some kind of a textured heel flap pattern and that lovely slip stitch. So this would be nice for maybe even like highly variegated yarns. When you have introduced things like slip stitches, you can really enhance the colors in those yarns too. And then Lean recommends a pattern called Jaywalkers. She says, I've made several pairs and I love how they sit on both foot and leg, no bunching. Well, that is always a nice touch. Nobody wants their socks to bunch up. So let's take a look at these. These are by Grumperina. Oh, chevron socks. Now these are very nice. I like how the stripes look in that chevron pattern, and we can see another heel flap and gusset sock here. Now this one, let me see if it says sizes or anything like that, is worked top cuff down. Has that lovely pattern. Let me look again at that. Okay, so it's worked on the leg and then just on the top of the foot, not on the sole of the foot, which of course you probably wouldn't want it to feel it down there. Okay, it does not say how many sizes we have here, but it is a free pattern, so you can download it and take a look to see. And then Sarah recommends 3 different patterns. The best simple pattern, Slip It Simple Socks, which we just looked at. And then she's got 2 more here for unique construction, the no heel spiral socks. I've heard of those kind of socks. I've never knit them, but they always sound intriguing to me. And then an honorable mention, she mentioned some South Marysburg slippers because they are slippers and not socks. So let's take a look at those no heel spiral socks. Well, they've got some kind of a texture on here and a contrast cuff and toe. And yeah, no heel. Some pretty texture. Oh my, look at that. Isn't that interesting looking? So it twists around like that. And that is probably why it stays on your foot. I like the stripes down here along the toe as well. So no heel flaps or gussets or anything here. Okay, so this one is obviously knit in the round. And it's worked toe up. Okay, so we've got a different direction going on here. And it includes 6 sizes as well. So let's see what the notes tell us about these really interesting socks. There's a simple and scientific idea of the elasticity, which is provided by an opened up helix or a spiral. The twisted spiral is going to hug any shape perfectly since it produces a very stretchy, skewed tube, but a well-adjusted tube that creates a different kind of sock, fitting any length of foot perfectly fine without the need of any heel construction. So this is not her original idea. It was taken from the 1938 edition of the Mary Thomas knitting book and is actually even older. Okay, so the pattern comes in 6 sizes. There are 2 toe constructions to choose from, a flat toe and a star toe. And then this helix design helps it hug the foot. So if you want something a little bit different, then this could be really interesting to knit. I think I'm going to have to add these to my list. I like this idea of just knitting this pattern without having to stop and think about the heels and toes or anything like that. Then we have another recommendation here, the Skippy Stripes Socks by Annette Schleicher. Lots of fun stripy colors going on. There is a bit of a texture here, and it looks like we have our first short row heel. I'm kind of surprised that, oh no, that's a heel flap and gusset. Okay, so let's see what this pattern has to say. No sizes written here. Written from the cuff down. Okay, it's a recipe. It's not a complete sock pattern, so you need to know your own toes and heels. Okay, so you can choose your own, and I guess it's just this sort of little, whatever this textured pattern is that's going on the sock. Oh, that is very pretty, sort of like a woven texture. So this is sort of just a recipe. You have to have your vanilla pattern that you like already, and then you can apply this stitch pattern to it. Next recommendation is the I'm So Basic Socks by Summer Lee. And Summer Lee has some really fabulous sock patterns. She's got lots of colorful socks. I really like hers. And this is her free pattern. So this one has 4 different sizes, and it's a cuff down construction, and it does have that heel flap and gusset, and she does the contrast colors with this pair here. And you can, there's the heel flap there and the heel turn. Very fun use of variegated yarn. So just a basic sock, but basic patterns are great. Okay, so this one has a photo tutorial and a video tutorial, and it will teach you how to knit a basic sock using Magic Loop. And then Lori says, there are so many, but Miranda slipper socks are a personal favorite for myself. Java socks are my go-to for the men in my life, and a lot of people in my life request shorty socks, so I'm on the lookout for a free pattern for those. I'll be sure to scan the comments for them. And lastly, I'm jumping on the DK sock bandwagon, so on the lookout for that as well. Well, we did mention a DK pair of socks here too. Okay, so let's take a look at these last 2 recommendations from Lori. We have the Miranda slipper socks. Okay, so these are in worsted weight yarn. Not any information here beyond just the gusset heel flap tags and Kitchener stitch. So you've got basic sock construction, but with worsted weight yarn. And I like the cuff on that. That looks really fun to knit. And she uses contrast colors for the heel flap and the heel turn. And for the toe as well, basic wedge toe. So if you want to knit worsted weight socks, really fly through them, then this pattern, the Miranda slipper socks, might be a good choice. And then last we have the Java socks. Oh, this looks like another, great unisex pair of socks with a nice ribbed leg. Okay, so we have 2 sizes, women's small, men's large, and available for free. This one's over on Knitty. So this one is knit cuff down. It does say heel flap again. So all of our free socks are heel flap and gusset socks. I find that interesting. I like the way these are created, like they've continued the stitch pattern and integrated it there on the side. That's really neat. I'll have to download this and take a look. Oh, it sort of curves off to the side. That's cool. So this one's free online. You can take a look at this one and see all of these pictures. I like how they continue the pattern right out of the gusset or the heel flap on the side. That's an interesting touch. So these ones are slightly different than your average basic socks. So there are cables involved, just 2 stitch cables, so lots of time to practice knitting cables without a cable needle. And the other note here, my favorite part about these socks is the patterned gusset. After the stitches are picked up from the heel flap, the gusset stitches are worked in the rib pattern, and the decreases consume the instep stitches instead of the gusset stitches. Okay, so that's why we get that really unique pattern along the top. The ribs eventually merge and continue down the foot to the patterned toe. Okay, so 2 sizes. Let's take a look right there. Okay, yeah, we can see better right here how we're working stockinette on the bottom, but we've got that interesting rib stitch pattern coming right out of the heel flap right here. Very neat sock. I think I might put this one on my list as well. So many great sock recommendations. Thank you for sharing them with me. It was so much fun to sit and go through them and see what socks you like to knit. And if you want to tell us about your favorite sock knitting patterns, be sure to leave a comment down below and share them with me. I'm always looking for new sock patterns. Some of these ended up on my to knit list, especially that no heel sock. That seems really interesting, and I'd like to knit that and see how it fits. But if you want to continue this conversation about different sock knitting topics, I've put together a short playlist with some other videos where we sit and chat about socks, either the type of yarn that you should use to knit durable socks or the things you should know about making sure that your socks fit well. So you can click on that playlist right there, settle in with your knitting, and I'll see you in the next video.